I have a confession to make. I don't really like DLC. Okay, so it's not that controversial. But I am old enough to remember when DLC just meant grinding your ass off to unlock every character in the Dreamcast version of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, or reaching the final stage without dying in Bloody Roar 3 to unlock Uranus, because look at this thing, she was awesome. But if you've seen any of my DNF Duel content, this might be confusing and you might rightfully think, wait, haven't you been asking for DLC for the last year for this game? And yes, I have. I desperately want DLC for DNF Duel. But it's not because I like DLC. It's because fighting games have an extremely toxic relationship with DLC and basically need them to survive at this point. Let's go back in time for a bit. If you're in your 30s, you probably remember a time where DLC used to be a novelty, an absolute exception to the rule for video games. The first DLC content I can remember at all was the Halo 2 multiplayer map pack in 2005. DLC was so unheard of at the time that GameSpot even wrote in its review, "It's strange to see a retail follow-up like Halo 2 multiplayer map pack, which is only suitable for a very specific subset of Halo 2 fans." Imagine a statement like this about DLC coming out of somebody's mouth today. It included 9 new maps, and honestly, for the value, this shit was awesome. Even more awesome was that you could just pass this around to your friend group and get everything for free. So the brokies like me didn't have to get left out because $20 in 2005 for a 13-year-old was a shitload of money. The farther down the line you go with video games, the worse and more predatory DLC became. Microtransactions started to infest every aspect of gaming, eventually making the top free-to-play games massively higher earning than any retail game could be. Other companies wanted in and started announcing season passes for games where you could spend a little more at first and not have to pay as much down the line. And the idea of paying for something that wasn't even in development yet and might not come out for months or years became normalized for players and the goal for developers. I'm straying away from fighting games here a little bit, but I want to establish that the issue of DLC is not a fighting game specific problem. Every genre has normalized some amount of this, and DLC is now an expectation and not the rarity that it was back in 2005. It's something that inherently is definitely not a bad thing. Adding new content to the game at a fraction of the price is something that players can enjoy, and it can extend the lifespan of the game for a long time. The problem, in my opinion, is that in fighting games, this almost always means new characters and new characters alone. Where other games can have special events, thousands of different cosmetics, and new game modes in addition to new characters, fighting games are much more limited in what they can offer. And while some games like Street Fighter do offer cosmetics and new stages with their season passes, this isn't usually what brings players back to fighting games. It's new characters. New characters who are quite regularly meta-definingly strong and either have enhanced versions of other characters' tools or just flat out broken kits. Let's not forget about the Winter of Leroy Smith or the Lab Coat 21-a-thon that Dragon Ball FighterZ became. What makes it worse is that games need DLC now. It is not optional. You really only need to look at a game like DNF Duel to see the effect that bad marketing and no DLC can have on a player base. It's required by players to hold interest in the game, and it's desired by developers to monetize the game for as much as possible and as long as possible. It's a problem that both groups are participating in at this point. I don't know what the solution is, and I don't really see this changing. Players have proven that without frequent DLC to change up the meta and maintain player interest, they will leave the game, and companies have proven that they will squeeze out every nickel and dime of a game until only one player is left playing.
Hello, I like money.
All I can really say is I both want DLC and dislike it on principle. Maybe I'm just old and cheap.
It's true, I am cheap.
So how do you feel about DLC? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more old man yelling at clouds content, and thanks for watching.